The Lands Between has a number of famous Tarnished who have created legacies for themselves. Vike, the man who came closest to becoming Elden Lord, the ever-brilliant Gold Mask, Gideon Ofnir the All-Knowing, and many more have their names exalted for their achievements. However, there is one who may have come even closer than Vike to becoming Elden Lord. This Tarnished, hand in hand with his maiden, may very well have made his way to the mountaintop of giants, further than any before him, but because of the tragedy that befell him on that mountain, he chose to slip into the shadows, to curse the radiance of grace, and to stop all those who would follow the path of the greater will. This Tarnished chose a new path, the path of the Recusant, and dedicated himself to the hunt. We are talking, of course, about the War Master himself, Knight Bernahl. Before diving into Bernahl's story, we wanted to ask that you take a second to hit the subscribe button. The more subscribers we have, the better our content plays with YouTube's algorithm, and the better we play with the algorithm, the more viewers we can reach in order to expand this incredible community. With that said, let's get back to our story. When we first meet Knight Bernahl, he is in the War Master's shack and asks if we're there to take up the fight and follow the guidance of grace. Whether we tell him yes or no, he's cordial and wants to pass on to us the knowledge of his battle arts. He thinks as a good and proper Tarnished, we can make good use of his knowledge as an instructor. Bernahl is very welcoming, likely the first Tarnished we meet who's prepared to help us for the small cost of a few runes. He shows his face and wields a Zweihander, exuding the aura of a battle-hardened instructor who's been around the Lands Between enough times to know what we need to learn in order to survive. Little did we know at the time, this calm, inviting presence is merely a facade, a shadow of a man long since gone. In order to discover who Bernahl was before we came to the Lands Between, we only have a few threads to follow. After we obtain 2 great runes, Finger Reader Enya tells us, "I had my doubts, but look at you. Only once before have I seen 2 great runes together. Look there, the fingers shudder with exuberance." So we know that only one other Tarnished has presented 2 great runes before the fingers. While it's easy to assume this was Vike, we have compelling evidence to show it was actually Bernahl. The Beast Champion armor tells us, beasts are drawn to champions and to lords, and this armor befits a champion worthy of becoming a lord, and this is what Bernahl was, until his maiden threw herself into the fire. If the Beast Champion armor is to be believed, Bernahl and his maiden made it all the way to the forge on the mountaintop of giants, which is only accessible with 2 great runes and the rolled medallion. How Bernahl had access to the rolled medallion, we don't know. However, one thing is clear, his maiden gave her life to light the Erd Tree ablaze, and it didn't work. Bernahl had both his maiden and his purpose stripped from him in that moment. He played by the rules of the greater will, and for some reason, he was denied the reward of his quest, the title of Elden Lord. This opens up a larger question. Is it even possible for a Tarnished to become Elden Lord? If our maidens can't light the flame, what's the point of our journey? Why are we led by grace to struggle through the Lands Between and take the title of Elden Lord, when it's impossible for our maidens to burn the tree? Of course we know that Melina has the power to achieve this goal for us, likely due to her connection with Marika, but during this time, the Tarnished are simply following the guidance of the Finger Readers and their maidens. Bernahl was left on that mountaintop, having the ability to convert runes into power stripped from him, all because he followed the guidance of grace. It's likely that sometime after this, he received a letter of invitation, beckoning him to come to the Volcano Manor. After coming to the manor, Bernahl would have met with Tanith and been introduced to the purpose of the Recusants, to rise up against the Erd Tree and fight the tide by hunting Tarnished who still hold true to the call of grace. Bernahl, after experiencing the greatest betrayal a Tarnished could possibly imagine, would see the futility in anyone trying to become Elden Lord, and would find renewed purpose in the mission of Rykard and Volcano Manor. If the Tarnished are being misled into questing to become the Elden Lord, Bernahl would open their eyes through force and put an end to their pilgrimage. He became a Recusant, a hunter of Tarnished, and a good one at that. Bernahl was such an efficient hunter of Tarnished, he was even granted a legendary armament, the Devourer's Scepter. This weapon is in the shape of a serpent devouring the world. It will one day become the very symbol of the Lord of Blasphemy, a vision of the future briefly seen by Recusant in his final moments before being devoured by the great serpent. Bernahl had come to carry the symbol of the Lord of Blasphemy itself, and will use it to crush those who follow grace, just as he once did. When we meet Bernahl in Volcano Manor, he's surprised by our presence, saying, "What in heaven's name are you doing here? The Volcano Manor is a pit of recusants that spit at grace and hunt our own kind. I hope you understand the weight of my words." Should we tell him we understand, he goes on to wonder if following the path of grace led you to your decision, and warns us the path we now walk is one of blasphemy that can only end in a violent death. Upon completing our first mission, he recognizes us as a recusant through and through, and reintroduces himself as Bernahl, a recusant just like you, and offers to teach us even more battle arts. He then goes on to explain, to take power and make it his own, the recusant must hunt his own kind. To raise the flag of revolt against this sanctified pillaging, we recusants must become the most wretched of predators. So Bernahl now has new purpose, to take power, make it his own, and one day wield it against the greater will. After we defeat Recusant, we can speak to Bernahl once more, and he tells us he bears us no ill will. The strong take, such as our code. He goes on to say even Recusant was prepared to meet a wretched end when he first took blasphemy upon his very flesh. While he believes Volcano Manor is no more, Bernahl also sees this as the perfect time to rise against the Erdtree. He has fought many battles, killed many Tarnished, and taken their purpose from them, just as the greater will did to him, and he is ready to strike back. The final words we hear from Bernahl are these: "O greater will, hear my voice. I am the recusant Bernahl, inheritor of my brother's will, and you will fall to my blade. We refuse to become your pawns. Consider this fair warning." While we believe the brother he's referring to is Recusant, we don't think this implies any family ties, simply a term of endearment for the man who started Volcano Manor and gave Bernahl new purpose. Like many we encounter in the lands between, the last time we speak to Bernahl is not the last time we meet him. Should we make our way to crumbling Far Missoula, Bernahl will continue to aid us, stepping in to help during the Godskin duo fight if we so choose. However, it's likely this is another facade put on by this recusant, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. While we make our way to the Old Lord's talisman, we can be invaded by recusant Bernahl. He will attack us with the ferocity of a man betrayed by his companion. By choosing to burn the Erdtree and actually succeeding, we've shown Bernahl that we do not truly tread the path of the recusant. We are chasing the title of Elden Lord, and in his eyes, playing right into the greater will's hands. For a man like Bernahl, who experienced the betrayal of having his maiden taken from him and being denied the throne, this is another deep betrayal from someone he likely considered a brother or a sister, and the only way to resolve it is through blood. A recusant through and through, Bernahl meets his end at the hands of our Tarnished. A violent end to the path of the recusant, just as he promised. Bernahl is yet another tragic figure in the lands between. He followed the promise of the Two Fingers, completed the quest he was tasked with, and was rewarded with nothing but death and disappointment. It's no wonder he would turn to Recusant in Volcano Manor after he experienced such a devastating failure through no fault of his own. For Bernahl, the path of the recusant was the perfect way to strike back against the greater will, to end its game of toying with the Tarnished and making empty promises. In the end, it depends on us whether or not his purpose was fulfilled. Thank you for joining us as we dissected the story of Knight Bernahl, the Recusant. Please comment with your thoughts on this character and his motivations. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss out on any Square Table Gaming projects. We look forward to seeing you again for more Elden Lore.